John's calling from Illinois, Printer PM, wants to ask us about leaving space for supernatural mystery. So, John, you're on with Justin and Matt. Welcome.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And I know, Matt, you're a very intelligent, philosophically strong orator. And I am curious as to where does mystery, does the word mystery exist in your world?
Yes.
And so can God just be mystery?
Well, a mystery to me is something that is unknown. And so something can't be a mystery. A mystery is it's not like a mystery is a thing that exists. Mystery is a category that we apply when we do not understand something. So, yes, I would say that gods, generally speaking, are mysteries, but that doesn't mean they exist and are mysteries. That means the claim, whether or not the claim is true, is the mystery, not the subject of the claim. Does that make sense?
Yep, I can appreciate that. Yes.
Cool. Justin, what's your take on mystery?
Well, I think it's kind of a silly position to have because, like, for example, there was a while we thought there was an ether, right? And it explained the mystery of how, in fact, we could get radio signals through space, right? Or there needed to be a medium of some nature in space, right? And then it turned out there was no ether. And then we're like, okay, well, it seems mysterious. We got to find an explanation for it. And so like, to describe something as a mystery doesn't mean that the thing exists or doesn't exist. It's more of a description of, can we explain it? Is the thing that we either do or don't believe in explainable? And if it exists and we can't explain it, then it's likely a mystery, right? But I still think there's a distinction. A mystery can be something that does exist. It could also just be something that doesn't exist. So I don't think claiming that there are mysteries gets you any closer to God, because just being a mystery has no entailment on whether or not something exists.
So, I mean, like, you want proof for the existence of God. I mean, would that be like the Wizard of Oz and pulling back the curtain and seeing this little short man controlling everything? I mean, ultimately, what sort of evidence would be needed?
I have no idea.
I mean, there's lots of evidence that I would accept. Exactly. Yeah. It depends on which one. Like, for example, if the Bible made all kinds of crazy predictions, and it does, and then they came true, like, listen, if all the messianic predictions in the Bible came true, I'd be like, listen, that seems really unique, because the claims about the Messiah in the Bible are like, they're claims that we wouldn't expect to come true unless, in fact, the God that authored this book existed, right? So that's like evidence I would be willing to accept. I can't say that everybody would. So if we're looking at evidence, some people would say just a good argument, a good logical philosophical argument that ended with only one conclusion possible, which is that it must be a God. Some people are willing to accept that, right? So like, you're asking two individuals what we would accept as evidence, and I would suggest that most individuals all have kind of a differing range of evidences they would accept. But the burden is on you, right? If you think there's evidence, right, the only thing you can do is present your evidence and say, hey, do you think that this is good evidence? And the reality is we'll probably say that it's dog shit evidence.
Sure. Yeah. I hear that. Definitely. I mean, is the whole goal of your show to find that one call one day that's just going to radiate the greatest piece of evidence of all time, or what's the hope of your show?
My hope is that if I've missed something, if I'm in error, and there is good evidence for a God, that would be presented. And if it turns out there's not good evidence for God, my hope would be that I help people realize what I realized, which is that I thought I had good reasons to believe something, and it turns out I didn't. And in 20 years of doing this, nobody has come up with anything even remotely close to good evidence or good argument. And that's pretty telling, because I've engaged on the biggest stages with professional apologists, all the way down to brand new Catholic AI bots. And to this date, you asked the question, if you're like, hey, what evidence would it take? And for the longest time, I gave answers that were kind of glib or whatever, because in my head, I was addressing a very particular definition of God. Like John, like Justin is, John, when he talks about, hey, if the Bible makes predictions and they come true, that might be a good reason to think that there's something to this. We would probably still need to investigate further to have a better understanding of it. If that God existed, if the Bible God existed, I don't know why he's hiding. I mean, why not just show up and give everybody a Damascus Road experience? I don't know why he's playing favorites, but I don't know what gods may be out there. However, if there is a God that is of any weight, not just, oh, there's a God, but it doesn't have any power and doesn't interact with reality, whatever. I don't care about putting a label on it. But if there is a God, that God should know exactly what evidence and sound epistemology should convince me. And that God, if it's worth its salt, should be able to present that evidence. That has not happened, which means either that God does not exist or that God doesn't want me to know it exists. Either way, it's not my problem. Do you believe in a God that could convince me?
I think the only way you're going to get your answer 100% is when you die.
Okay. So you don't. So first of all, I don't think you're going to get any answer 100%. We went through that in our last call. I don't think you can be absolutely certain. But do you have any good reason? What reason do you have for believing in a God, and which God?
Yeah, I'd love to know which one you believe in.
I am Christian, and I openly admit that because I was born in the United States, it's easier to be Christian than it would if I were in Asia. I might be Buddhist. If I were in the Middle East, I might be Muslim. So I can appreciate.
Do you care about what's true? Because it seems like you've just gone with the club that's handy. All I asked you for was, what's your reason for believing? And you seem to immediately go rushing to, oh, I was born into a culture that advocates for this, which that may or may not, be enough. But do you care whether or not your belief is true?
How do you define true?
Accurate, real, consistent with the facts of reality.
And
yeah, I mean, I do think that's very important. The facts of reality.
More important? Is there something more important than that?
No, I think that's the foundation of all of existence.
Cool. What reason do you have to think that the Christian God is real?
All I know is that since I was a little child, and you could say it's an imaginary friend, that imaginary friend was with me in my earliest stages, and as I've grown up and as I'm becoming an adult, I have felt that, you're not going to like this word, that intuition that has, yes, been shaped within a particular community and nurtured in a particular community. Yes, and I think feelings that are also have some sort of. I mean, you can't just go fully on.
Do you think that feelings are a reliable pathway to truth?
You have to be wise to them.
Yeah, but John, do you personally believe that feelings are a reliable pathway to truth?
They're part of it. And see, I think I think you guys kind of.
What's the other part? Because I think it's the other part that's more important.
Well,
because I know lots of people in other religions who have similar feelings as you, but I'm willing to bet that you don't think like the Hindu gods exist. But I do, in fact, have an ex-coworker who is Hindu who claimed to have been visited by two of the Hindu deities and grew up in this religion. So why would I say that your experience is somehow more valid than his experience? It sounds to me like they're either both true or both false.
I have no problem saying that they're both true.
Oh, so you're a polytheist now.
But those gods contradict.
No,
it's not possible for two gods that are mutually exclusive to both exist. I mean, that's irrational.
Maybe it's the same God working in two different ways.
Maybe it is. How do you show that? And why is that God working in a way that appears to be completely contradictory?
Contradictory to who or what?
To the other God. So there are people who think that Jesus is God, and there are people who don't think that Jesus is God. And you're saying that they could both be right. That is in violation of logic, in violation of the law of non-contradiction.
No, I can believe that Jesus is God. I can believe that Jesus is God. And I also can believe, too, that God can speak into the Hindu context like he just described.
Why is God appearing to validate the Hindu faith, which is contradictory to the Christian faith? If he wants you to know about himself and his son and the Trinity and all the other nonsense, why would he not just confirm the thing that is true rather than the thing that's untrue?
Because that's not where that person lives.
Doesn't matter. He's a rational thinking individual who can accept new information. So do you think, so for example, John, in your world, if God came down and said to you, actually, John, I'm not one God, I'm actually 64 different deities, are you capable of understanding that? Do you have the rational mind to say, oh, I thought there was one Trinity, now there's 65 gods? Can you do that?
But he wouldn't do that in my context.
John, it's a yes or no question.
Why does God have to care about your context?
Because that's how God made us, and that's how God works within our respective contexts. How do I know that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you mentioned the multiple gods in the other context, and you asked me if I heard you correctly, if God would speak the same way to me in a American Christian context that he would in an Asian context.
No, that's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. That was what you seem to have heard, but that's not what I asked. See, we asked you whether or not you cared about truth, and you said that yes, and you think that truth is paramount. And then we asked you about potential ways to engage and learn and understand about truth. And then you started violating the foundational principles of logic by suggesting that two things that are contradictory could both be true. And then you started saying that's how, then you are wrong. You do not understand or care about truth if you think you can violate the law of non-contradiction and still be rational. That is absolutely, unequivocally, with absolute certainty within the realm of context of that framework of logic, irrational. It is irrational to say something can both be what it is and not be what it is at the same time in the same way.
You would also be affirming that God told a lie, which Numbers 23:19 and 1 Samuel 15:29 would say he can't do that.
See, you're using fundamentalist atheism.
No,
and trying to combat fundamentalist Christianity.
There's no such thing as fundamentalist atheism, and what we are using is reason, logic, and Justin just used the Bible. What are you using?
I use the Bible, but you're reading the Bible wrong.
We're reading the Bible wrong.
How am I reading it wrong?
How do you know that?
Quote the verse again that you just read.
It's Numbers 23:19, and it's repeated in 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 29. It says that God is not a man that he should lie, nor mortal that he would change his mind. And Isaiah 44:6 states that there is no other God. He's the first, he's the last. There is no God beside him. Right? Which means if God is showing up and saying, actually, Vishnu and Shiva are God, that's him affirming a lie. That would be God saying things that are untrue.
No, that's Israel not the Bible is written specifically for Israel.
No,
Israel
sir.
is not worried about Hindu religion.
No, John, there's no way on your God's green earth that you know or understand the Bible better than either of us. And yet you're saying that we're reading it wrong. And now you're saying the Bible was written for Hebrews. Well, the Christian Bible is 66 books. We'll exclude the Catholic stuff right off the bat, some of which was written by Jews for Jews. Some of it was not necessarily written by Jews for Jews. However, the passage in Numbers that Justin just talked about, which was, it's 23:16.
19.
No, 23:19. God is not a man that he should lie, etc. What are we reading wrong about that verse? And how do you know it's wrong?
You're not reading it wrong. It just...
I'm sorry, John.
To a particular...
John, just a minute ago, didn't you just say we were reading it wrong?
Well, so you're reading it in a particular context to a particular people.
No, John, my question, John, my question was, did you not just say that we were reading it wrong? Did you say we read it wrong? Yes or no?
I misspoke.
Okay.
I was wrong.
Then John, stop. Listen. It's so much easier if you just say you misspoke rather than trying to deny it. It's much better for us because we know what we said, and so does everybody who watches this and everybody who will watch it forever because they can fucking rewind and hear you tell us that we read it wrong. So when I ask you, tell us how we read it wrong, and then you're like, I didn't say you read it wrong, you're a liar. And so I can't stand liars. No, I didn't say you had to say we read it right at all. Just shut up, John. Wait, I'm getting ready to turn it right back over to you. I'm trying to explain something so that you understand this. If you say we read it wrong and we say, show us how we read it wrong, you can't pretend that you didn't say that. You can say, I misspoke. I don't mean you read it wrong. Here's what I mean. And then you go on from there. And no, we don't have to have this side fucking conversation that wastes everybody's time. Please just be honest with us so that we can get to the point of whether or not you have a rational belief in a God so that we can either share it or not. So what did we get wrong and why?
You didn't get anything wrong. You're fine. The stuff that you quoted in Numbers is there.
Okay, so then you agree that God can't lie.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, so if God can't lie, that means he can't show up to individuals and say things that are untrue, correct?
What would he be saying that is untrue?
Oh, that's a yes or no question. Can God show up to individuals and say things that are untrue?
See, this is what's frustrating. You guys are so
John, it's a yes or no question. All I need is a yes or no. All we're trying to do is hammer down the meaning of this passage. According to Numbers 23:19 and first...
John doesn't care about truth.
John doesn't
care about truth. No, sorry. Here, let me mute you, John. See, this is why we started by asking at some point early on in the conversation whether or not you care about truth. And you said that, I think you said that truth was paramount or most important. And then you started giving us things that you actually consider more important than truth. And when we point out, how do we go about finding the truth? You keep telling us, oh, you did it wrong, you read it wrong, you got this wrong, you did this wrong. And we're like, okay, how do you know? You're just a complaint vendor. You have nothing. You do not understand how to argue. You do not understand how to reason. You don't care about truth. Because every time we get you to a point where you would have to admit the truth, except for one, you have tried to change the subject or spin it around and say, we've got something wrong, or we're being dishonest. The only time that was the exception was when you knew people could rewind to hear what you literally said, and then you decided to spin. So, John, let's back up. You're convinced the Christian God is real. You're convinced. You started because that's the way you were raised, and then you went to intuition. So let's set all of that aside. And I have one simple question that might redirect this. I hope it does. If not, I'm setting everything aside. I don't care that you misspoke. I don't care that you don't seem to actually care about truth or how to get there. I have one question to try to redirect this. So please pay attention, and then I'm going to unmute you. And how you answer this is going to determine how the rest of this conversation goes. John, how can Justin and myself verify that what you believe about God is accurate? Go.
I don't think you can.
Is it impossible for that transformational experience to happen without a God?
Yes.
How do you know that that transformational experience you had is impossible if there's not a God?
Because I've had to learn through the God of Jesus that I've needed to see how my own dying to myself was going to completely and utterly heal and transform my life.
So, yeah, Buddhism already teaches that way before Jesus.
That's not remotely answering my question. The question was, how do you know that this transformation could not happen without a God?
I'll admit, you could go to a psychologist and lay on a couch.
John, I don't need to go to a psychologist. I'm asking you for, how do you know that the transformation couldn't have happened without a God?
I can't answer that question 100%. I don't know.
I didn't see. Here's the thing, John. This is how I know you are actively lying to yourself, because I didn't ask you anything at all about 100%. You just got cornered into recognizing that you made a claim for which you do not have a justification. And rather than admitting to yourself that you don't have a justification, you've decided to say, I don't have 100% justification. Nobody asked you for that. I asked you, how did you verify that the transformation could not have occurred without a God existing and being involved as well? But I didn't even go that far. So what you're saying to us is, what you're saying to us is, you had a transformative experience. You believe that it was because of a God, and you have no way to demonstrate that to yourself or anybody else, and you don't care enough about truth to reserve judgment on that subject until it can be verified. That's what you're telling us.
But there's no way to verify it until I die.
Oh, why would you believe something that you cannot verify? How can you claim that something is impossible without God if you're also admitting you have no capacity to verify it until you're dead? Have you been dead?
I mean, no.
Then by your own reasoning, you can have no verification of this, and yet you believe it anyway. Once again, you've proven that you actually don't care what's true.
But how do you define truth?
I already answered that question. I answered it instantly the first time you asked it, without beating, without doing anything, and you accepted it. Why are you now asking me to redefine something I've already defined? I know the answer to this. The answer is because you have just trapped yourself in the admission that you do not care whether or not something is true. You're believing it based on your feel.
You've got to have space for ambiguity. It's mystery.
Sir, John, sir, I have plenty of space for ambiguity. I have friends who are non-binary. Ambiguity runs through my entire existence. You're the one who claimed something is impossible without God. And now you want to be ambiguous about it after claiming what's not possible. I wish you could be as honest now as you were when you finally realized that you said what you said.
John, I think there's a couple of things that could explain your experience, but is it possible that your experience could be explained by something other than Christianity? Because
no.
If so, okay. So would you like me to explain to you why? Yeah.
Go for it.
No. I want you to tell us what the experience was.
I mean, I grew up in the church. My parents divorced when I was young. I went to an altar in. You guys have a Colorado area code. I gave my life to Christ at a Billy Graham crusade in Denver, and I have just sensed that God has asked me to take the very next step in life, and I have done that.
I'm sorry, John. John, I asked you what the transformative experience was. What was the transformative experience that you claim can't happen unless there's a God?
I think being able to hear the still small voice in my soul.
You think that you can hear? You think you can hear the still small voice of your soul? Something that I'm going to bet you have no way to demonstrate you can actually hear. And you then think that you can't do that without a God, right?
Right.
How do you know that you're actually hearing the still small voice of your soul?
Because I mean, I could be off. I could be wrong. I'm not 100%.
No. Now I'm going to have to fucking mute you because now you're backtracking and making yourself a liar when you don't need to. We have been asking you repeatedly, what justification do you have for saying this is not possible without a God? Justin even asked you if there was a possibility, essentially, that you could be wrong about this, which you denied. And now we've backed you into yet another corner. And now all of a sudden, every time you get backed into a corner, it's, you guys have no ambiguity. Don't you leave room for mystery? Well, I guess it's possible that maybe I was wrong. You're a mess, John. Do you think that this is something religion did to you? Or is there something else that's happened to make you just throw reason out the window and just run with your feelings? I mean, do you think the religion you were indoctrinated into caused this irrationality, or do you think you're just generally irrational and flailing around in ambiguity and latching onto a religion? Which one of those is more probable?
No, I'm fine with rationale. I had physics I roomed with physics majors for 4 years in college. So I'm
sorry.
With that.
I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry, John, but I have to interrupt you because you violated the law of non-contradiction earlier. You've repeatedly demonstrated that you do not know or understand rationale, reason, truth, epistemology, any of that. And now, I'm just going to say it. I don't know how else to say it. Now you are stupidly saying that you're fine with reason because you roomed with physics majors in college? Does that mean that I'm the world's greatest lover because I went to a strip club once?
Well, that's up to your wife or whoever you got.
Okay.
That's wild.
No, John. I'm going to mute you again because I know you're probably going to try and interrupt here. So first of all, whether or not I'm the world's greatest lover is not up to my wife or anybody else. Not like one person can say you're the world's greatest lover and that makes it there. You have a fundamental misunderstanding of how to demonstrate anything reliably. This is going to sound weird to you and to the people watching the show. I'm genuinely close to tears. No bullshit, no hyperbole, genuinely close to tears. Because either you are a troll which I almost hope, or someone somewhere has done such a terrible thing to you that you can now not have any chance at figuring out what's real, at figuring out what your justification is. And yet you run around confident right up until somebody points out why you can't be confident. And then it's ambiguous right up until you need to express confidence again. You can't be wrong. It must be this. And your experience is that you can hear the still small voice of your soul. I don't believe there is a soul. I don't believe souls exist. As a matter of fact, I think souls are the most obviously, non-joking, dead concept in all of theology. There is no reason to think that anything like a soul exists, and countless reasons to demonstrate that it doesn't. And yet you become convinced that you can hear something and that it is your soul. And when asked how you know this, you don't have a fucking clue. Like, genuinely, I live in a strange world. This was one of the questions I had for Justin that I was going to ask, but we jumped into calls. We now live in a, sorry, I'm genuinely broken up. We live in a weird world where truth doesn't seem to be valuable to people anymore. We have flat earthers, anti-vaxxers. We have incompetent, unqualified, raging alcoholics running all sorts of department of the government, canceling funding, denying due process, claiming the world is flat. Somehow or another, humans have broken humanity. Somehow or another, humans have sacrificed reason on the altar of feels. Somehow or another, people think their intuition is way better than it even could be, let alone what it is. And all we're wanting is for people to call in. You called in at the beginning of this call, which started, 35 years ago, I think. Want to know what the purpose of the show was, and we answered. What's the definition of truth? And we answered. We've asked you every question. John, I'm going to recommend that you reach out to recoveringfromreligion.org. They are not going to try to talk you out of your religious beliefs. They are not there to debate you. But there are plenty of people who are in your position. You're not alone. I'm not trying to convince you to give up your belief. I think the reasons you've given are insufficient to warrant your belief, but I have no way to tell whether or not what you're convinced of is true or not. And I don't know how you do either. This is the difficult position of being a skeptic and an atheist, because I don't get to say your God doesn't exist. I have no idea if your God exists or not. What I can say is your reason is insufficient. Your argument is fallacious. Your evidence is insufficient. You are wrong to believe this on the grounds that you presented, but it still might be true. You could call in and say, the number of blades of grass on the earth is even. It has to be that way. It can't be any other way. I feel it. I had a transformative experience. I heard the small, still voice of grass, and it told me that it must be even. And that is just as ridiculous as what you're saying about God. It genuinely breaks my heart. So I'm going to quit harping on you, John. I'm going to let you get kind of a last word in, or have an interaction with Justin, because I was not quite where you were at one point, but I have family and friends who were there. People who cannot find their way to value reason and truth and are flailing about. And it's heartbreaking.
Matt, thank you for all that. And the reason that I am Christianity at its best is the one religion that allows everybody, with whatever questions they have, can come sit at the table.
That's not remotely true.
I mean, they spent the better part of 1,500 years executing heretics. I'm not really sure that's the route you want to go. And even the Protestants, like in Geneva, Calvin was executing heretics, burning people at the stake. I mean, we can think about the massacre of the Cathars and the Waldenses and Anabaptists. I mean, Christianity has not been an open religion to questioning or dialogue or anything of that nature until maybe just our present modern era. So, I mean, literally in the 80s, I had a friend who was excommunicated from her church in the 80s because she got divorced. Like, this is not a religion that welcomes diversity by any stretch of the imagination. But even if what you were saying is true, it's still irrelevant to whether or not Christianity is true. Like, the fact that you think your version of Christianity is open to scrutiny says nothing about whether or not it's true. Would you like to hear maybe a couple reasons, I don't know, why your religion is not true?
Sure.
Right. Do you think that contradictions exist? I think you've already violated the law of non-contradiction once, but like, if God says that he is something, can it be reasonable to conclude that he must be that thing? And if we find evidence that he's not, that we found a contradiction?
Maybe he was that thing for that time.
Well, let me help you out. In Deuteronomy 32:4, God says literally that all of his ways are perfect and just. You would probably agree that God is completely just, like he never does injustice.
You're going to bring up slavery, aren't you?
Nah.
Funny how you're already aware of that problem, though.
Yeah.
Well,
so do you affirm that? Does it affirm that God only does what is just?
It's a big mystery. I would like to think yes.
I mean, it's not a mystery.
Either does or doesn't.
It's not a mystery.
Well,
does the Bible affirm?
There's a lot of hedging.
Yeah. Does the Bible affirm what he just? I mean, the Bible either affirms something or it doesn't. It's not a mystery what the Bible affirms unless you just haven't fucking read it.
I've read it, but it's not a constitution.
I didn't say it was.
It's a book. It's a book written in a world that is so far removed from ours, and we're trying to. But when it makes statements,
John, when it makes statements about God, can we be assured that the statement about God is true?
No. The people who wrote the book are.
The Bible's not true.
Okay, well, so how do you tell which parts of the how do you tell which parts of the Bible are true and which aren't?
Great question.
Yes, I know. I've asked it for 20 fucking years.
I think if it's going to damage relationships, then I think you have to pause for a moment.
Would it be immoral for me to tell Justin to go steal a car from me so we can go somewhere?
If you're in the Ukraine getting bombed and you need that car, I say go for it.
Cool. So you're a situational ethicist. What's the justification for Jesus telling his followers to go steal a donkey?
It is. He got a donkey. He didn't get a horse.
That wasn't the question. The question is, how do you justify Jesus informing his disciples or commanding his disciples to do theft?
They didn't steal it. They asked for it. They went and said, the Lord needs a donkey.
Yeah, but Jesus didn't ask them to ask for permission. Jesus said, go and take it. And if you're questioned, tell them that the Lord has need of it. He didn't say to ask for permission.
Right. Well, they went and did it.
They certainly did. Yeah, it's theft. And Jesus killed a whole, I don't know, flock isn't the right word, but
yeah, flock of or a group of pigs. Yeah, swine.
That's a property crime.
Luke 19:30, the red letters in the ESV Jesus says, go into the village in front of you, where on entering you will find a colt tied, on which no one has ever yet sat. Untie it and bring it here. And if anyone asks you, why are you untying it? You shall say, the Lord has need of it. First of all, he's not necessarily their Lord. That passage doesn't make any sense to anybody else, but whether a Lord or anybody else needs something is irrelevant. This passage is written such that it can make it look like Jesus knows exactly that there is a colt there that nobody has ever ridden, and it's tied up, and I want you to go get that. He didn't say, go find a colt. He didn't say, go steal a car. It would be like me telling Justin, go down to the end of the block, and there is a red pickup truck. They keep the keys above the visor. Go down there and get that and bring it back. And if anybody asks why you're taking it, just tell them I need it. Is that moral?
Maybe sometimes some things are more important than our definitions.
Yeah. Say, here we go, John.
That was a yes or no question. Why can't you say yes or no?
It's funny because, John, if you go back and rewind this call, one of the things that happens at least 3 times now is once we walk you up to the edge of having to accept something, you say, well, maybe blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe blah, blah, blah. Cool. Well, maybe you're right. And when you can come up with something other than maybe, let me fucking know, because I don't give a shit about your pandering to maybes. You are now looking for excuses. You have no interest in the truth. You have no interest in defending anything. You have no interest. Now I'm not going to cry. Now I'm just getting pissed because every time we get you to the point where you would have to acknowledge something, you show us that you don't give a fuck about truth. And so I don't give a fuck what you think anymore, John. Say good night.
Good night.
Have a good one, John.
Thank you for watching that clip. If you enjoyed it, perhaps you should join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
Join us.
At patreon.com/calltheline.